I, 29 male, have a brother, 27, who has a preschool daughter. His daughter's mom passed away because of birth complications, and he's been raising her mostly alone ever since. Recently, he asked me if I could babysit her for the night so we could go on a date, but I refused because I'm not experienced with kids, and frankly, because I simply don't want to babysit. My brother kept insisting, saying that he was too tight with money to pay for a babysitter, but I kept refusing to do it. However, one day at around 7 p.m., I suddenly heard a girl knocking at my door, and there was my niece, while my brother was nowhere to be found. I let her in my room, and I then started calling him multiple times, but he wouldn't pick up any of my calls. After half an hour, I left him a message that if he didn't come back home in 15 minutes, then I'll report him to the police for child abandonment. He came back after 20 minutes, but luckily for him, I didn't call the police yet. He was absolutely furious with me and started berating me in front of his daughter, but I eventually made him leave my house with my niece. However, afterward, he kept leaving me messages about how I failed as a brother and as an uncle, that I proved to my niece that I don't love her and see her as a burden, and that I couldn't even allow him this night of fun when he hadn't had intimacy since his daughter was born. But I messaged him that the last thing is his problem, not mine, so he needed to figure it out on his own instead of pinning it on me against my will. However, this only got him to send even more hateful messages. My boyfriend, however, thinks that I'm acting like an idiot to him and that we could have taken care of my niece this one night without creating a scene. Am I the idiot for not having much sympathy for my brother's situation and not wanting to babysit his daughter? He abandoned his child for a booty call? Wow! If he can't afford a babysitter for an evening, he shouldn't be dating. If money is that tight, I feel like he isn't prioritizing the proper things, like his child. You don't need a reason to not want to watch someone else's child, but your brother is out of line. For real, I know money isn't everything in a relationship, but who in their right mind would date someone who can't even afford to spend $60 for a babysitter? I personally make a poverty wage, and that's one of the reasons I've taken myself off the dating market. You are not the idiot. Did he even know you were home? What if you had been out on a walk? He saw a car out front, for example, or someone had taken you out. What if you had been intoxicated or otherwise inebriated? Brother's parent, possible partner since OP doesn't say, literally died, and OP hasn't helped him with childcare once in 4 years? Of course he's under no obligation to do so. Still, I can't imagine hating my sisters that much or being that selfish of a person in general. I have very little experience with babies and toddlers, but I learned from my coworker because she was always struggling with her health. Of course, brother is the biggest idiot in this situation, but overall, it seems everyone's the idiot here. Being willing to call the cops on his brother for a single night of babysitting once in 4 years is close to the definition of being an idiot. Calling someone an idiot for refusing to do something that they're under no obligation to do is hypocritical. You're under no obligation except, actually, you are. You can't have it both ways. Either OP owes his brother free babysitting just because they're related, or OP did nothing wrong by refusing to provide free babysitting. There's really no middle ground in this situation. You're conflating obligation with morality. No one is obligated, but you can be a moral, kind person. Like, I'm reading all of these comments, and I feel like I haven't seen anyone think of the actual child here. OP was right to do what he did by making his brother come back and threaten to call the police. What the brother did was extremely unsafe, negligent, and insane. But I'm thinking of the bigger picture here. Here's a little girl whose mom died, whose only family is her crappy dad, and no one else wants anything to do with her. She's just a kid. That breaks my heart because none of this is her fault. Everyone's yelling, "You can't make me," which is technically true, but being unwilling to ever be slightly inconvenienced to help other people out is being an idiot. I'm a single dad. I have 5 boys. The elder 2, 18 and 1 year younger, from a previous relationship, and the younger 3 with my late wife, mid-teen, young teen, and tween. My older boys both have jobs and contribute to buying their own food and clothes. My mid-teen, we'll call him Jack, doesn't. I don't have a problem with this, but it is relevant to the situation. We're not badly off, but I'm far from wealthy, and with 5 kids in the house, I have to budget carefully. I can only buy so much food and so many clothes, and the rule is, unless you have your own money, you have to accept what's there, and that's it, or there won't be enough to go around. For those who'll say, well then, should have had fewer kids, it's a bit late for that, don't you think? Jack has been unable to keep a job, but that doesn't keep him from complaining about his clothes being too small or uncool, and that he wishes he could eat like his friends, going out to nice restaurants, etc. I understand I grew up less fortunate than my friends as well, and I hated it, but that doesn't mean I can magically change things. Yesterday I came in from work, and my younger sons told me they were going to make PB&Js, but they couldn't find the peanut butter. I can't find it either, so I end up asking my older sons and Jack. Jack not only ate the peanut butter, but he's also been stealing food from his older brothers. I told Jack he was way old enough to know that stealing was wrong, and that he couldn't eat the food that his little brothers needed. He got annoyed and asked if I wanted him to start eating from garbage cans. Now, I provide as best I can for all my children, and while it could, of course, be better, we're nowhere near the poverty level of the whole eating out of the garbage trope. I told him the reality is that if he wants to buy fancy foods and snacks, he'll have to get a job and pay for them himself. He wasn't happy to hear this, but I think it needed to be said. He's 6'2" and 140 pounds, not underweight or something. So, am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. You said your son is 6'2" and 140 pounds? A male at 6'2" and 140 pounds is in the underweight category. You're neglecting your children. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear this. You need to figure out the resources now. Mid-teen is very young to expect a child to have a consistent job. If his clothes don't fit, that's 100% on you. Food is on you. If you expected your teen to pay for his own video games or extracurriculars, that would vaguely be different. You're expecting a child to pay for the basics. Well, OP calls clothes that fit fancy clothes and PB&J fancy food. The craziest part is that peanut butter sandwiches are so cheap. That's been my main source of protein throughout college. I can buy a small jar of peanut butter and a loaf of bread for under $10, and it lasts me a week if times are tough and I have no other food in the house. OP is so strung out about a jar of peanut butter. For what reason exactly? Like, dude, just budget better. That's like $4 to $6. And you even made the point that you're not completely destitute. Food is a priority, and he clearly doesn't have enough of it for his pubescent son. LOL. OMG, dude. Food stamps exist. You're not providing this kid with the food that he needs. Y'all need to get on government assistance or hit up your local food shelves, etc. If you can't feed all your kids, there are solutions to this problem that don't involve your kid wearing clothes that don't fit and going without food. So many people are too ashamed to use food assistance, and it's so stupid. No one should be in this situation. This family is exactly why the program exists. Children aren't meant to work and fight their family members for food and clothing. This isn't a third world country. It's the richest country in the world. Stop making excuses and shoving your problems onto your kids more than you have to. I, female 28, was married last year. I made Anne, female 29, my maid of honor. Anne and I often hung out with Belle, female 28, because we were all girls in the same friend group. I don't like Belle at all. The feeling is mutual. She's a bully, and she's only nice when she's intoxicated. Belle only likes to see me so she can compare our lives and try to put me down. But Anne is my very dear friend and expressed that she feels guilty when she doesn't invite Belle because she knows Belle has no other friends. Despite this, I made Belle one of my bridesmaids because Anne was my maid of honor, and I knew Belle would kick up a fuss behind my back unless I made her a bridesmaid. I paid for all my bridesmaid stuff, including dresses and bachelorette parties, because I thought it was unfair to burden them with my expenses and because I could afford to. Everyone had a blast, and luckily there was no drama. Now Belle's getting married and has made me and Anne bridesmaids. I would be fine with this, except Belle is expecting us to cover our own expenses. I am well off and could afford to, but I'd rather not because I'm still saving up for a home in a high cost of living area. When I declined, Belle was upset, and I mentioned that I could easily afford the expense. I said I simply didn't want to, but I would be happy to be a guest. Belle brought up that she was my bridesmaid, but I reminded her that I paid for all her expenses. Now Belle is having a fit and threatening to remove Anne as a bridesmaid. Anne is actually relieved because she couldn't afford the expenses, $2,000 for the dress so far. But her feelings are hurt, and she told me that I should have just sucked it up and paid. Was I the idiot? No, you're not the idiot, but you might need to reevaluate your friendship with Anne if she's going to continue making Bella your problem. Your best friend should not be guilting you into having a woman who's only ever been rude to you in your wedding, or guilting you into being at that same awful woman's wedding just so she can be a part of it. There's just so much wrong with this situation. I hope you can have a talk with Anne and explain your feelings without it ruining your friendship. But if not, then the friendship probably wasn't as close as you thought. You should not be made to be Anne's protector. I understand she's sensitive, but you guys are grown. She needs to stand on her own 2 feet and can't put you in the middle like that. In 5 years, I guarantee you will have a breaking point with this. Whether she needs to go to therapy or have a come-to-Jesus moment, she must get it together and drop Belle. Side note, I don't think $2,000 for a bridesmaid's dress is reasonable. Yeah, my bridal gown was less than half of that, and I looked great. Is it embroidered with diamonds? Crazy. $2,000 for a person she doesn't even like? There are still the shoes, hair, makeup, bachelorette party, etc., etc., etc. Like OP, I have the funds, but I turn it down too. That's a lot of money for someone else's special day. And Anne needs to buy some big girl pants instead of the bridesmaid dress. So I, 28 male, have been with my girlfriend, 27, for about 13 months now. We just moved into an apartment together. We live on the West Coast, US, and my parents are on the East Coast. They're coming to stay with us for the weekend in about 3 weeks here. We're getting the place settled and tidy and prepping for them to come. This will be their first meeting. My girlfriend does this thing every night, where when she serves dinner, she tells me some little pun or knock-knock joke and then says, "Dinner and a joke." And then we eat. She does it for every meal she makes, even the meals I make. She'll say, "Okay, do your dinner and a joke." It's something her late dad did, and she really enjoys it. To be quite frank, I'm a little tired of it, but I know it makes her happy, and it's important to her, so I smile and play along, and I never say anything about it getting old. I asked her if we could pause dinner and a joke when my parents visit. My mom isn't particularly humorous, PhD chemist and medical doctor, and my dad also takes himself extremely seriously, surgeon. Both very, very, very serious people. Not that all medical doctors are overly serious, but my parents are. They're very critical people in general. I don't think they're going to enjoy it. I think it will annoy them. I asked her to stop just for the weekend, and we could go back to it. She got extremely upset and said I was being a total idiot and stayed with her mom for an entire 2 days about the whole thing. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. If your parents are so uptight that a mild joke before dinner is going to annoy them, then the problem is your miserable, unpleasant parents, not your girlfriend. You've already identified that they'll never accept your partner, no matter how hard you try. The question is, are you going to accept your partner or be a good little boy and do as mommy and daddy dictate? Yes, that's meant to be as condescending and emasculating as it sounds, because at the end of the day, that's the core question. Good luck finding your answer. I disagree with the consensus, not the idiot. I don't think you're the idiot for wanting your parents to like your girlfriend. Some people don't know what it's like to grow up with strict parents. If they don't like something, then that thing never ever gets to happen again. The disapproval from serious and strict parents is crushing, and it cuts deep, even as an adult. Adapting something or someone you love to them is a form of protection, so they approve of the person you love, and you don't have to feel like you've disappointed them every time they're around. I'm with you on this. It's not like he asked her to change her looks or her personality or anything else. Just don't tell a joke for one night. It's pretty strange that she can't do this little thing for him, in my opinion. What OP's delivery was missing was vulnerability. It's better to say, my parents make me anxious, and I need you to do this because you care about me. In these situations, everyone wants their parents to not be annoyed by their SO. My brother married the love of his life a couple of years ago. Her parents disowned her for it for religious reasons, but reached out right before my eldest nephew was born. Despite reaching out years ago, my brother and sister-in-law only set up a date for them to meet my nephews recently. I was babysitting the boys that day and was waiting for my boyfriend to pick me up, so I had the pleasure of meeting her parents/in-laws. Well, I don't even know how it came up. Still, another thing about my sister-in-law is that she had many pregnancy losses before giving birth to my nephews. Her mom was talking about God and said those losses were my sister-in-law's punishment for giving her so much pain and marrying my brother. She used my nephews as proof because, according to her, my sister-in-law could only give birth because her parents had finally forgiven her. My brother was with one of the boys in the nursery, so he wasn't present, but I was, and I was angry. My sister-in-law burst into tears, and my nephews were about to cry too because their mom was upset. I wasn't even trying to be polite, so I admit I yelled at them to get out. They were all like, "Who even are you?" But I ignored them and told them that if they didn't leave, I would call the cops. They told me I had no right, and I was clearly not a part of this, but I had managed to get them out the front door and shut the door on them mid-sentence. My brother heard the commotion and immediately went to his wife, so I went out to make sure they left. However, their car was still there, and they started yelling at me about God, so I went, "Screw you and your beliefs," and said it was all a bunch of BS. They told me I went too far disrespecting their religion, but ultimately left. I didn't think much of it till my brother called me yesterday asking me what exactly I said to them, because apparently they made a Facebook post about religious discrimination and being a minority, and we, me mostly, are getting flamed. I didn't mean to discriminate against them or anything, but since when was that ever a valid excuse? I've been reading the comments, and I feel crappy now because I have friends who are a part of this religion, and I just feel like an idiot. Not for insulting them, but for saying that crap I said about their beliefs. Of course, these people don't know the whole story, and I don't regret standing up for my sister-in-law, but I feel incredibly guilty for making so many people feel hurt by my words. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of your decision to say that line, but I'm not opposed to you saying whatever you had to say to get them out of your brother and sister-in-law's house. You are protecting people you love. I don't know what kind of religion tells women that they deserve to have a loss because they married someone of a different faith. Still, I can see why someone would want to marry out of that thinking. Her mom was talking about God and said that those losses were my sister-in-law's punishment. Are you kidding? What a vile thing to say. There is no way anything but the most disgusting person would say that. Imagine having your own mother say that to you. What a vile woman. Any beliefs that could possibly justify a comment like that warrant something stronger than mere disrespect. OP, you stopped bullies from harming innocent family members. No one should put up with that evil. Being religious isn't a free pass to be an idiot. What they said was deliberately cruel, vicious, and hurtful, and they don't deserve the privilege of being grandparents or a part of this family. You could put your side of the story on Facebook, telling people exactly why you said what you did. That'll just keep it going, but it would give everyone blaming you a reason why you said it. I think I'd probably just ignore them, block them, and let them stew in their own hatred and bitterness.